Okay, welcome to the current world record run of Prince of Persia Warrior Within any percent Zipless. So first, I should explain what that means. The boat is pretty self-explanatory. I'm just gonna kill enemies. The only thing to note is I'm getting a certain sword, so there's a bit of RNG with this. There's 2 out of 3 swords that'll work. The axe, which is what I get here, or one of those swords. There's another one that's like a butter knife. That one doesn't work. There's not enough damage. But yeah, so the category is any percent, so we just need to get to the end of the game. But we can't use this one glitch called zipping, which is really broken glitch. You can just like move wherever you want without collision and go super fast. But there's plenty of other glitches we can still use, so the run isn't like a glitchless. There's actually another category called NMG, no major glitches, that I might refer to at some point. But yeah, this is kind of like an in-between category between those two extremes. And it's a really cool category, hard to run because there's a lot of randomness you need to deal with and bullshit tricks, but yeah, it's still overall a really fun category. Really short. So very reset heavy. Yeah, this boss, Shady, her name is. This is why we picked up the secondary sword. We're going to use secondary counters to do lots of damage. Some people don't actually know about this mechanic, but if you counter an attack with the secondary button instead of the primary, you attack the enemy with both swords and it does a lot of damage. So we can just recycle this move set here, counter, and then vault attack to kill her. Very scripted and also very fast, so it's really nice. Yeah, 147 boat, it's pretty good. Best you can get is like 143. Best I've ever gotten is 144. So pretty that's like an average start, I would say. I usually get sub 150. Coming up here, just starting the run, we're going to set up a pretty big glitch called ledge storage, or just like storage. We should just call it storage. You get it by vaulting over a railing and getting hit as you're doing that. You'll see coming up here, I'm going to do it with one of these birds. So I'm going to line up by the railing, wait for the bird, and I'm going to try to climb over it and see the bird just interrupts my climbing. And what that does is sort of stores the positioning of that railing like universally in the whole map of the game. So when we go really far away from it, we can activate it and the game will try and move us back to where that railing was, and that'll allow us to skip a cutscene. Because it tries to move you back all the way to where that is, like in the blackness of the deloaded area. But then you still have collision. You're not like teleporting there, you're moving really fast. So you still bonk into collision, and it just so happens that we can bonk in a certain way that it lands us safely in the area that we need to go to. You'll see that coming up here. All this is just nice movement. You'll see me do weird movement there. You see I jumped up to the ledge. That's to avoid triggering the ledge storage, because I want to save it to use it up here. So this is the cutscene coming up here, and it's we need to get past it, so we first do this weird jump to actually jump over the cutscene. And then we can move to this back corner, which is where we're going to release the ledge storage, right on this little rock, and that teleports us right back here, skipping the cutscene. We backtrack for a load trigger, and then continue on. Grab this secondary for later, and watch this small cutscene. So quick note about movement. The fastest movement is side roll, so you'll see me do that like all over the place. If you can't side roll because of enemies, I'll be backflipping or just rolling to avoid the prince going into the combat stance. See a side roll here, which might seem like slow because you have to set them up, but it's actually faster because of the combat stance you would get if you walk too close to the crow, and actually messed up that trick, which is pretty sad. It's a really easy trick, but I wasn't close enough to the wall and I just fell down instead of wall running. So like I think like 5 seconds lost there. The run was really good overall with tricks, but I lost a lot of time to just stupid movement stuff. I blame nerves towards the end of the run, but that mistake was just me being stupid. So we're almost to the point where the game's going to get more broken. First we got to get through this area, which actually does have a faster skip called ASCO jump, which if you want to see it done, you can look at Catalyst's run for any percent with zips. We call it normal. Yeah, it just skips. You can jump past that gap there, but it's really stupid and hard to do because of the enemies. So I don't even go for it at all. More side rolls. Alright, so now we have the recall ability. So we can do more glitches. The main glitch we use is the menu glitch. So I'll use it right away coming up here. So if you just open the menu and then mash the menu after, it glitches out and it'll open, but the red background won't be there. And that'll allow you to sort of buffer inputs and pause the game unexpectedly. But you still have access to the rewind, so you can rewind with the map and then do a teleport like that. And once again, just like storage, it's not actually a teleport. It does hit collision, but it does avoid cutscenes and load triggers, stuff like that. And enemy load triggers, which is what the first teleport did. It prevented these enemies from deloading. And I went slow here. I made a mistake. I was sort of fumbling with my controls. I was trying to do it faster, like get a roll as soon as the menu comes back up, but I kind of fumbled with the controls. But yeah, so there I just did another teleport using a roll instead of a backflip, which skips a cutscene. And I had to go out of my way to get a sand there using those tricks, but it is still overall a little bit faster. I think it's only like 4 seconds, but yeah. Apologize in advance if I'm talking faster, but this run is very short and it's very dense, so it's hard to talk about everything. There's way more stuff I could go into it. I'm trying to focus on the main things. So here we're going to do a skip to get to the end of the game. This is called a rewind trick. I'm going to rewind twice to the same frame, and then you get an extended jump like that. It extends like every animation, but at that point we use it to extend a jump to get to that pole. And this area is like end game. It's when you're supposed to be the sand wraith and you're headed to like the final area of the game, pretty much. Like the last stretch. That's why this run is so short, because it's a semi-open world game, so you can skip to the end like that. And here I was trying to jump. This is another small movement mistake. Costing me time, but all of these add up, which is why there's still a minute of time save on this run. But yeah, so I messed up that jump. But yeah, so we're gonna side roll through here. And then I stop side rolls here because there's a cycle you need to make, so it's pointless to do more, and I find it easier just to roll under the traps like that. So there's this cycle here that you would need to wait on anyway, and I actually almost missed it because I bonked into that pillar. So here we actually want to start transitioning into the sand wraith. We hit a checkpoint there and then death abuse, and if you notice the number 3 in the bottom left hand corner will turn to a 58. So that's the story counter of the game, so we just jumped ahead. So that's there so we as runners know that it worked. If it doesn't, then you just have to reset and try again, because it doesn't work every time. So now that we hit 58, we can safely continue and do this skip of ahead just to skip this whole area. This skip is like an NMG skip, which again stands for no major glitches. The camera turned there because of the enemies. That's pretty rare, but just had to deal with it. So you can just skip that whole area with that kind of precise jump. And I'm going to save and quit here because I want to transition into the sand wraith. So I save the game, force quit the game, reload it, which is like a bit faster. It's like 6 seconds faster than death abusing, which is another way you could do it. You could die twice and then you would be the Sand Wraith. But yeah, so we reload back and then we're magically the Sand Wraith and we're good to go finish the game. Go through these traps. There's an easier strat you could do here by deloading the traps, but it's 4 seconds faster to leave them loaded and do this skip right here as the traps are there, which is a little bit harder, but it's not too bad. So I can just line up kind of a wide angle like this and get a wall run on this side, and then skip the traps just like that. And something I didn't mention is that little attack there off the wall is called a safety fall. It allows you to fall from higher heights and not die. I've used it before, but I just didn't mention it because there's other stuff to talk about. Yeah, that's used periodically throughout the whole run. So here we're trying to avoid these enemies, which I did, thankfully, in this run. I'm trying to get out of bounds here, which I believe I got it first try. Or second try. Yeah, there we go. So we're in this like seam here, and then we're gonna backflip back here, line up, and then I'm actually gonna throw the weapon very close to the edge, and that allows you to fall down and avoid fall damage. It's called a drop glitch, because you're throwing your weapon as you're falling, so the game doesn't start the fall timer or whatever you want to call it, so you can avoid fall damage and get down here safely. You can't use it like normally because you grab ledges and that kind of messes it up. But on that ledge, it's an out of bounds ledge, so you can just fall down and you don't grab it. So here I'm doing another glitch called quicksand. I could have actually done this faster, but the sand regenerated so quickly that I wasn't ready for it. So I had to waste like an extra 10 seconds for the regen. But whatever, it's not that big a deal. I sort of expect to always wait 10 seconds, but if you get lucky, it'll regen right away. So here I'm just jumping and rewinding over and over again, and you see I'm sinking into the floor. And if you do this 21 times, you actually get far enough into the floor that you can roll under walls or doors or whatever. So I'm doing that to get under this door that's in front of me. And because the Sand Wraith, that's just a mechanic of the Sand Wraith, you get your sands regenerated, if you didn't know. And I'm just timing it so that I constantly get the sand refunded. Which makes this way faster than if you had to wait for every sand to regenerate. That would, it probably honestly wouldn't even be faster to use quicksand. Alright, so now we're going to use another iteration of the menu glitch called a launch. If you do that safety fall animation, and do some funky stuff with the menu like that, you can actually get it to sort of send you flying in the air. It sends you in like an arc pattern, and you can use it to skip a bunch of areas in the game. There we just did it to reach that ladder. And we got this sword, by the way, for not to actually use the sword, but, well, actually we do use it for some walls, but the main reason we get it is for the damage. So we're going to get a secondary weapon, and the way the damage works in the game is that the secondary damage is a multiplication of your primary, so we need the primary, so the secondary will do more damage. So here I just got a couple more quicksand using a ledge instead of jumping, which sinks you a bit further into the ground, so I only needed 3 there. And then that skips an enemy load trigger, so there's no enemies in this room, and then I'm free to do this launch right away. We call that axeless because we used to get a secondary axe to kill those enemies, but since I found that, we can just skip getting that axe, and I'm using a launch here. I had to wait for regen, which is pretty typical. That actually means I'm going as fast as possible, so that's good. Launch right up into this corner, or into these ledges here. And then we can trigger that cutscene from a weird spot that you're not normally supposed to be. And so the Dahaka doesn't actually try to kill you, because you're supposed to be like hanging above him when you do that in casual gameplay. So he's not like scripted to attack you. So we can just walk past him, no problem. And then continue on. This is where the run slows down a little bit. We're not going to use uh, major glitches for a while. It's just movement. But it's still a really interesting area because there's a lot of stuff that can go wrong. The first thing we're going to do is go for this cutscene skip, which saves like 1 second. It's like barely worth going for, but I always do. So that jump there just jumped right over a cutscene. And we're free to side roll straight to the end of this hallway, or cave, whatever you want to call it. And do another safety fall here, and then jump across this gap, which is pretty tricky because of the enemies, but luckily I got it first try. If you don't get it first try, it can be really frustrating to recover. So that trick, it's always like first try or just do a wall run. And you can actually just jump straight to that cutscene. Normally you would die, but the cutscene triggers and it saves you. And I mashed jump there so you can see his legs looking all weird in the cutscene. It's just a fun thing to do. So these dogs are pretty big assholes. They can get in your way. We need to watch the cutscene because it's just unavoidable. There's no way to get in the door without triggering the cutscene. Otherwise, we could skip it in other ways. There actually is a way you can skip it and continue, but it's slower, so just watch the cutscene, and then we can jump over here to start side rolls. And then this switch to open the door is stupid because the timer to get to the door actually ticks down during the cutscene. So if you go right away, which obviously we want to go fast, it's a really tight cycle to make. The easy way to do it would be to wait after this cutscene and then hit it again. But that's slow, so we want to go right away. We need to have pretty good movement. Here, I actually did one of these jumps, and I thought that was going to ruin the cycle, but luckily I was able to get a normal jump, which is what I was trying to do, and just make the cycle. So that was almost run over, basically, but I recovered. This is the secondary I mentioned. This is the light sword, or banana sword, as we like to call it. It's the most damaging weapon in the whole game, I'm pretty sure. It does like 2.5 times the primary weapon, so it's a lot of damage. It'll allow us to kill the final boss very quickly. So here we can do, this is a pretty recent discovery by Epic Dude Guy. It's a really cool iteration of the menu glitch. You can menu glitch a jump off of a ledge like that and actually gain height and sort of walk on an invisible ledge and then skip that little bit of platforming. And this is actually another skip here found by Epic Dude Guy. Actually, I think I did it first, but he's the one that had the idea to do it. It's a type of launch, but it's like done on a corner. So what it does is it sends you like straight backwards indefinitely until you hit a wall. So just like that, and then it sort of flings you back like that and hits a wall. And luckily I hit the load trigger. Sometimes you can skip the load trigger and then you have to backtrack for it. So I saved some time there. This wall is stupid, so it didn't work the first time, but it worked the second time. Now we're just trying to get back. We hit all the story gates we need to finish the game. You might have noticed the timer or the memory info went to 61 now. So we need to like just get to the end of the game now, which we can do by just jumping down like so. The first thing I jumped to was it's frozen because of the way we got here. Normally it's moving, but since we got here in a unconventional way, it's just frozen, so we can just jump on it to get down, which is really convenient. We just continue with side rolls. And here, that's another trick there I was using. It's called a first person cancel. I use it to cancel the stun animation when you land from high heights. I think I've been using it throughout, I just never mentioned it. But yeah, it's just allows you to start moving faster. Here, I jumped down there to my death on purpose, because that deloads a cutscene. Or it like, you hit it as you're dead, so the game like tries to play it, but it doesn't actually play because you're dead. But then, and then when you get here normally, it doesn't play because it's already flagged as you have watching it, so. if we didn't do that, the cutscene would not only take longer, but it would also just kill you after, because the floor isn't the right height because of glitches. Some more side rolls here. This is actually where the audio of the game usually breaks because of the menu glitch. Even if you could hear audio, it would be off now. So up here we're going to do another cutscene skip with a roll teleport, and this one is very precise. There's only like 2 frames that it works on. But first you'll see some awful movement. I was distracted with the metronome here. I was getting it set up because I used that for the teleports. So I dropped down off that switch too early. I knew I wasn't going to be able to make it, so I had to pull it again. So we're going to set up here. Want to get as close to this cutscene as possible without actually hitting it. And then do a roll teleport right to this corner because the cutscene trigger doesn't extend out there. I just failed to get the menu glitch there, which is kind of funny. Never fail that. At this point, I was getting a little nervous because the run was really good pace. Which is why, well, this trick, I don't know why I have trouble with this trick. I'm trying to do a safety fall here, but the game just won't let me wall run. This is honestly one of like the biggest time save. I think I wasted like 12 seconds trying to do this stupid trick, but I just ended up abandoning it and jumping down like that. And I could, normally you can side roll these to go a bit faster, but since I got hit earlier, I had to wait for them. If you haven't noticed, side rolling through traps, you ignore the knockback, so it's really fast to do it that way. Then we can do another launch here to save a total of 2 seconds. Not 1 second, 2 seconds. Very important. So we're close to the portal to go to the last fight here, but there's a couple cutscenes that are in our way. So we're going to use more teleports to skip those. First one is right here. We're going to use a wall run teleport. This one's really easy because you have a full wall to just wall run immediately and get the teleport. But this next one is a little harder because you don't have as much room to wall run. So what I do is I use this setup by hitting the wall and then get close to the cutscene like that. And I almost fucked up there. I almost turned around too quickly and hit the cutscene, but luckily I stopped and it didn't do it. So yeah, you need to time the wall run there so you don't reach the end of it to still get a teleport. Then more side rolls. This is the final portal. In normal any percent, you would actually save and quit here to turn back into the regular prince. But since we're not zipping, all the load triggers are still functioning as they're supposed to. So we can actually just continue straight to the boss and fight her as the sand wraith, which normally you wouldn't do in casual gameplay. It kind of makes the story, doesn't make any sense with the story, but it's faster, so. So we're going to do one more launch here to save another, you guessed it, 2 seconds. And then we're ready to go straight to the boss. So this boss is absolute bullshit. This is the most annoying part of this whole run, and it's right at the end. She has these tornadoes that she uses throughout the fight, and we want to skip them all because they take like a minute each to go through. And the way we can skip that is by doing lots of damage with the light sword and certain little things I'll try and mention. But it's kind of random at the end if it works or not, so I just had to hope that it works. The first phase, you just mash the light sword. She'll block, you just move aside. She blocked twice there, which is kind of rare, but it's fine. The main thing about this fight is just to get the triple skip, that's what we call it, to skip all 3 cycles of the tornadoes. And the first one is skipped by just constantly damaging her. So right away I'm going to start mashing the secondary again. And just don't stop damaging her so she never has a chance to start the tornadoes. And then you fail the mashing on purpose to skip the second cycle. And then continue damage until she's like 2 hits left. So right there. And then this is the random part. You just have to hope you hit her. Normally you do vault on her to make it more likely, but I honestly don't think that helps. You just have to hope it works. And luckily it did. She blocked. I got scared, but I won. GG. Really good run. Most of the time loss was from stupid mistakes, small movement, and that dumb safety fall that I'm probably never going to do again if I run this again. But it is a bit faster, but I can never get a wall run. It's dumb. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. It was a very dense run to talk about, especially doing live commentary like that. But I think I covered everything pretty well. So yeah, hope you liked it. And yeah, next run I'll probably do is, in terms of Prince of Persia, I'll probably focus on derusting for the upcoming Prince of Persia marathon that we're doing on November 9th, weekend of the 9th. Which is, I'm going to be running Prince of Persia, the Two Thrones, any percent normal for this game, a race, and one more. Oh yeah, I have the segmented run of Prince of Persia, Sands of Time, and I believe that's it. I'm probably forgetting something. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. And yeah, if you want to learn about this game, you can go to speedrun.com. There's tons of resources there and whatnot if you want to learn how to speedrun it. But other than that, thanks for watching, and peace out.